Joining me from the U.S. state of Rhode Island is Vladimir Golstein. He's professor of Slavic Studies at Brown University. First of all, great having you. Second, what are the key strategic goals for Russia going into this summit?
Well, Russia basically, like any participant of a long-lasting conflict, wanted to stop. So this is the main goal. But obviously, it wants to stop on the favorable conditions. Russia is willing to compromise. It's clear because the original condition was demilitarization of Ukraine, what they call denationalization of Ukraine, and acknowledgement of this Russian territories and so on. They're willing to negotiate and give something in, but that's what they want. This war is detrimental in terms of human power, in terms of Russian relationship with the West, and so on. So Russians are willing to, sit at the table. But what is very important is that finally President Trump owes it and acknowledges it by going to Alaska and wanted to meet with President Putin, that this is not just Russian-Ukrainian conflict. What was known to Russia and what was known to outside observers is that America was very heavily involved in this conflict, supporting, giving endless amount of money, ever since a special envoy Newland acknowledged that the U.S. invested $5 billion to sort of turn the legitimate government around, and endless amount of money and military equipment since 2014. So finally, the U.S. said this is not in our strategic interest. That's important to acknowledge. That Trump admits that this is not in U.S. strategic in continue this war because U.S. is also losing it. So that's the idea. Of course, Zelenskyy has different views, but he doesn't recognize the interest of other players in the world, from United States to China to neighbors to all other countries who actually want peace and multipolar world rather than the sort of aggressive war which basically wipes out.
Yes, but at the same time, Russia seems to be coming with maximalist requests, and some critics see the summit as more symbolic than substantive, given the Kremlin's position. Do you expect any progress or just political theater?
I expect a certain progress. And I don't think Russia actually has maximalist, objective. They're definitely not going to give up the territory which they considered either, Russian, where Russian speakers express their absolutely kind of objective desire not to go back. So, but Russia probably wanted more. But when they said that they want to demilitarize Ukraine or they want to denazify Ukraine, they basically were talking about change of the government. From what I understand, they are willing to sort of let go of these demands. So they're willing to compromise. Ukrainians seem to be very naive. They kind of think that, what the world wants, what Ukrainian people want is the same thing which European leaders want. That is the war to continue because they continue to benefit from that. But we know ourselves that there recently was a poll in Ukraine, not anywhere else, in Ukraine, and 68% of Ukrainians want peace as opposed to 22% who want to continue. So this is kind of the will of the world as large, the will of Ukrainian people. But Zelenskyy thinks he started as an actor proclaiming that he is leading independent Ukraine, but now the play is over. What is important to realize that United States, if they decide not to help Ukraine, they're going to lose even more. So this is not a political theater. This is kind of realization that it's time to sit down and compromise. And I think compromise can be beneficial to practically every side.
And how important are behind-the-scenes actors like Belarus or China in influencing the tone and the possible outcome of these talks?
They are extremely important because these are objective, participants. What we do know that NATO countries started this Ukrainian conflict, supporting it and giving money, because it's continuation of this Cold War mentality, which is already should be stayed in 20th century. What we live in 21st century, countries like BRIC countries or neighbors, like Slovakia, for example, or Hungary, or other countries, they think this war is detrimental to everyone, just detrimental to trade, detrimental to prosperity, increases the risk of larger conflict. So these countries, precisely these countries, should be listened, not those who are sort of running some kind of, within the United States, some kind of military complex, who benefited from that. There is other interests, both in the United States and in Europe and in Ukraine and in Russia, and these countries, will benefit from the peace. So the voices of countries like China, absolutely fundamental, because they are objective, as opposed to the individuals who refuse to see beyond small horizon.
Vladimir Golstein, thank you for your insights.